Hey, it's Aaron, Metal Theologian. You know, usually when I start one of these videos out, I'll sort of pull something from the recent arrivals stack, something I've been listening to and sort of was thinking about talking about. And I'll be playing that and I'll sort of start with that and then talk about it. But this is, man, I looked at these fucking records that are sitting here, a few stacks here. I mean, there you go. There's one more that you can't see on the camera, but it gives you an idea. A sort of recent arrivals. I went through them like 3 times and I was like, you know what I really feel like hearing right now, though? Is this fucking old Iron record. It's funny, I was watching Metallurgy earlier, they were talking about Dark Quarterer and like that like Planet of the Italian scene. I was like, maybe I feel like hearing Dark Quarterer. But it's funny, earlier today I actually pulled this guy out. Sometimes records strike you right and sometimes they don't. This record has grown on me considerably over the years. When I first got it, I was like, it's kind of an overrated, whatever, It's 88, very progressive. This is a reissue from Jolly Roger Records, which is actually a pretty awesome label out of Italy. This has grown on me a lot. I can sort of appreciate what they're doing prog-wise and that. But I don't know, man. I put this on when I was cooking before, and like the singer was kind of annoying me, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not gonna like shit on this record, but it's not what I'm in the mood for, And I was thinking the Dark Quarterer would do that too, and I was like, yeah, but you know something? You know who wouldn't do that is fucking Old Iron, man. That's got the Italian weirdness going on, Such a great record. Anyway, I talked about that one a lot kind of recently, so got a couple things here. Actually, from time to time, I talk about this a lot. From time to time, I pull things out, records that I feel like I might not appreciate as much as other people do. There are certain things out there where I'm like Van Halen. I'm like, I've spent as much time listening to Van Halen as anybody, and I'm just not buying what they're selling, They're a fun band to shit on, but the reality is, I'm just not into like the antics, Like, I can totally appreciate like David Lee Roth's showmanship on one level, like sort of from a performance standpoint, but it's not what I want to hear on a record, man. It's some fucking guy just like, clowning around, So, anyway, that's on the one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, there are other records where I'm like, a lot of people really love this record, and I don't, so I might not get it yet. And I try to pull these out from time to time, and this is kind of the latest one. This one's growing on me a lot. Fucking Hall of the Mountain King by Sabotage. Now, I was kind of late to this band anyway. I didn't really discover them until I was, I don't know, my late 20s, early 30s, somewhere in there. Not as late as like Judas Priest, or I was like in my 30s when I got into them. So if you're 24 and you're watching this, do you think Judas Priest is shit? Give yourself a few years, man. Just revisit them from time to time, and eventually you'll be like, oh, holy fuck, man, That's what I did with them. Scorpions, too. Anyway, wasn't quite as slow out with this. From this back cover, still cracks me up every time. I don't know, though. The one that really ended up blowing me away when I got it was Sirens. And then I loved The Dungeons Are Calling. That might actually be my favorite. It's close between that one and Sirens. And I really like Power of the Night, too. The one after that, man, my inner contrarian wants to love Fight for the Rock. But I haven't been able to do it thus far. I just haven't managed, man. But this record, I kind of thought, people talk about this as like being the best Sabotage record, man. And everyone's been like, I don't know, man. It's not really all there, but I feel like every time I pull this record out, I like it a little bit more, you know what I mean? I kind of wish I didn't do that Greek thing with the Hall of the Mountain King. I just don't feel like that adds a lot to the album, but overall, the songs on here are really just as solid as anything, and it's funny, it's something about the fact that it's on Atlantic does something to it too, and like I'm not quite sure what it does. I'm not quite sure if it's good or bad. I mean, it's not going to be good on a major label as opposed to an indie, right? So I guess we can be clear about that. But it's not necessarily like it's not exactly a scarlet letter to have this fucking A on your record for Atlantic. You know what I mean? It's possible. Anyway, I kind of feel like my brain's sort of sorting through all these different things and just sort of taking this record for what it is. And every time I look at it, I appreciate a little bit more that the King's legs are a lot smaller than the rest of his body. And, yeah, I don't know, man. I really, in a way, records like this are the ones I appreciate the most because they're the ones that sort of take me a while to figure out. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I appreciate being challenged by a record like that. If you ask me exactly how this was challenging me in a way that was different from, say, Sirens, I'd have a hard time putting my finger on it because there's not like a big, huge, obvious difference in the production. I mean, yeah, this one sounds like it had a bigger budget than Sirens, no doubt about it, right? But it's not like one of these night and day things where, you know, the one sounds like it was recorded in a basement, the other sounds like it was recorded in a studio. You know, it's all these records are well, you know, they sound good. So that doesn't quite account for it, you know. I don't know. It's a good record though, man. I've actually been listening to a lot of Memphis rap lately. Like I kind of latched onto that. That whole series that Now Again did. Actually, it's funny. The way I got into this shit is my older kid sent me a text asking me if I ever heard of this YouTube channel called Flesh Simulator. And I was like, no, but I'll go check it out. So I check it out. And, you know, it's this guy, kind of this weird looking guy who like does these little essays. And I was sort of looking through going, which one I want to check out to get a taste of the channel. The first one I saw was called something like Satanism and Rap. And I was like, oh my god, I like rap and I like Satanism. There's a lot of Satanism in rap. So I was like, I've got to check this out. So it was all about this Memphis stuff. These little clips that he put in there, just like every single one of them was like blowing my mind. Like, you know, I'm still relatively new to hip hop. I've only been really into it for, you know, a year or two, something like that. 3, depending on how you count. But, yeah. I sort of heard about the Memphis stuff, but, yeah, like this one I've been playing non-stop, man. The fucking Carmike. Almost every day coming at your ass. Great stuff, man. Such a weird sound, such a weird coloring to these, you know what I mean? They sound super primitive. Way more primitive than any Sabotage record that he did. This is another good one, too. Gotta get my pimp on. My shoddy pimp at MC Spade. So yeah, I've just been sort of trying to, like, find what I can, because a lot of this stuff you can't find at all, you know? I sort of dig it. And it's funny, because I've been, like, interspersed it with a few other things, like Open Mike Eagle. This record is really good. It's the only one I have. I was curious because I've seen him on YouTube and that sort of thing, you know? And, so I was like, oh, let's check out one of his records. So I sort of got this one because it was the one where I like to cover the most out of the ones I saw at the local shop. I was expecting it to be good, but I wasn't expecting to be as into it as I am. This thing is like really creative. It's really unusual. Just an unusual approach to how the vibes are crafted and that sort of thing. And of course the rapping is first rate. And, yeah, I really like Open Mike Eagle. Anyway, where was I going with that? I started talking about this on my way somewhere. Well, I kind of don't remember. Let's go back to this one. This is another one that I pulled out. Speaking of records where I sort of, you know, come back to them periodically. I actually hadn't come back to this one in a while. This is, The Avatar by Angel of Mercy. And this is like one of those top shelf, like mega rare records that you can see. Like 20 years ago was like pretty much impossible to find. And so I've always been curious about it. So when Shadow Kingdom did this reissue in 2018, it's probably been longer than that. I did it as a double, which I kind of hate, you know? And actually, this is how like little things can bug me. The outer sleeve that it originally came in was kind of tight, and every time I'd pull it out, it would piss me off. So like I was already annoyed when I was putting it on, and I actually felt like it was probably coloring how I felt about the record. And one thing that I found is like, if I have a record where I feel like, this is kind of a shitty copy, maybe I should upgrade it. A lot of times if I just like throw away the sleeve and put like a new sleeve on, then when I look at it, I go, oh hey, this looks nice, you know? I remember specifically doing that with my copy of the first Montrose record, which I bought for $1, admittedly, back when you could find records for $1 like that, you know? But I was like, this thing's kind of shitty, man. I really love this record. Maybe I should treat it a little more. I put a new outer on and it looks great. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, I'm happy with this copy now. So I tried doing that with Angel of Mercy. And all of this effort has sort of got into this because I feel like I haven't quite cracked this nut yet. Like, the main thing that I was really kind of left with listening to this record was that I thought it was boring. And that's like the worst thing a record can be. You know, if a record sucks, at least it sucks. You know? Like Michael Bolton is my favorite example, or like Kenny G, you know what I mean? It's like, if you're watching this, it's a pretty safe bet that you fucking hate Michael Bolton. But like, that's art. If he's like eliciting that kind of reaction from you, you know what I mean? If he's making you fucking just hate it, then he's kind of doing something right, you know? And I hate him too, don't get me wrong, you know? But like, there's a part of me that kind of needs to tip my hat a little bit, you know? Kenny G, exactly the same thing. And these guys didn't quite even reach that threshold. Now, I want to say I feel like my expectations might have been the wrong place, but I don't really know what I expected. The way I'm sort of hearing this now, I just listened to it again earlier, is as sort of, there seems to be like this small sort of genus of record, or of old bands, of which I feel like the British band Apocalypse, who just put out that one single, Storm Child, they're sort of the epitome of it. It's like kind of progressive, but not like super far out, like with the experimentation, like pretty restrained progressive, and a singer that sounds like Art Garfunkel. Like the Ashbury record, Endless Skies, that one kind of has that too. And like, even though this guy doesn't sound as much like Art Garfunkel as some of those other guys do, I still kind of feel like it vibes out like Art Garfunkel metal. So, I don't know, you know, I don't hate this record. It's grown on me a little bit, you know, but I still don't feel like I understand it, you know, and that's kind of where I need to get to, you know. When I come on here and I say, oh, this fucking record, like that Carmike record, I've only had that record for a couple weeks, you know, but like I get that record. I'm like, fuck yeah, you know. I mean, you can talk about, I've never been, you know, poor in Memphis and that sort of thing, right? But just like on a purely musical level, I totally get it, you know. And I appreciate it. This Angel of Mercy record I've had for years, and I just haven't quite gotten there with it yet, man. So I got it when it came out, so I've had it since 2018. So there you go. If I'm missing something obvious about this one, tell me in the comments. You know, well, this feels like a dick move to solicit comments, but you know. So also along with my this is actually a new reissue. This is sort of a public service announcement because I don't know how long it's going to be around. But I've been curious about this Lynx record for a while, partially because of Thomas over at Merciful Metal, because he fucking loves this thing. And we've definitely got some mustache action going on here, you know. In fact, we probably have more mustache action going on than you would expect based on that cover. You'd probably expect more, you know, bigger hair on top of the head instead of like here, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I didn't want to pay what originals this go for because I wasn't that sure I'd dig it, but you know, when I'm in the mood for something a little bit wimpier, but only a little bit wimpier, okay? Not like something super wimpy, just like a little bit wimpier, a little heavier on the keys, a little more upfront with the melodies. This is a really good record, you know? It's not as heavy as this. It's nowhere near as raw as this. This sounds, you know, very well produced and well made and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a good record then. I don't think there are a ton of these out there either, so yeah. All right. I'm gonna say that one in a minute. So here's another thing. Actually, it's funny with all like the Ozzy, because Ozzy just died recently, right? I'm sure if you're watching this, you know that. And yeah, I mean, it sucks. People get old and die, right? But I haven't really felt all that like, oh my god, because with Ozzy Osbourne, he was old, he was sick, he's been sick for a long time, and frankly, he lived a lot longer than any of us expected him to. You know what I mean? And the thing with Ozzy is like, I don't feel like there was anything unfinished. You know what I mean? It's not like if Ozzy had only lived a couple years longer, he would have given us this masterpiece. You know what I mean? It's like people, the shit that people say about like a Cliff Burton or a Randy Rhoads. You know what I mean? There's none of that for Ozzy. You know, everything that Ozzy had in him, we got, and then some. Frankly, you know, it's not like all his solo records were good or anything like that. So, obviously he's great with Sabbath. Even the bad Sabbath records with Ozzy aren't terrible. And his early solo stuff is pretty damn good too. I mean, I've always liked the first two, and I've come around on Bark at the Moon in a big way. I think that's probably the one I've reached for the most often. Well, I was listening to some other people talking about this on Metallurgy again last week, and there were a bunch of people in the chat who kept talking about this one. And I really only have this because I basically got it for free. And I've always kind of written this record off as pretty crappy. Like, when it first came out and it was still the 80s, like, I thought The Ultimate Sin was kind of a good song. A couple others, but none of the others really stuck with me. I just kind of felt like they went by. And again, this is one I pull up maybe once every 3 years at this point, I pulled it out again the other day because I was like, well, fuck it, you know what I mean? I'm going to pick the worst Ozzy record that I have, which actually might be Speak of the Devil. But that one's kind of awesome in its own way. Anyway, the worst studio record, right? Like, clearly, this one's way below those first three. I was like, so let me give it another shot. And maybe because I've been listening to so much other crap, this record really doesn't sound so bad to me anymore. It is not his best record. And like, if this is the record that Ozzy would have made if he lived a couple more years, then I'd be like, you're good, Ozzy. You've given us plenty. We appreciate you. It's okay if you just let go, we weren't like all like needing The Ultimate Sin as like this final sort of statement, you know what I mean? I don't know. I sort of feel like this one works under the 7 out of 10 rule. You know what I mean? Like a record that's 7 out of 10 is like a decent record, a good listen, one that you're not going to get up and like take off, but isn't necessarily going to blow your mind either. You know what I mean? Just kind of a cool record. So I don't know. All this by way of saying I'm not feeling anywhere near as hostile to this record as I did, 2 weeks ago. I actually got this record because, and a few other ones I show occasionally, I got it basically for free. There was, a long time ago in the early days of eBay, you could get shit cheap. Someone posted a big lot of, like, a bunch of records and shit like that. And, there was a Forgotten Child record in there. And, like, the other ones were all kind of trash or whatever, you know what I mean? But that one's, like, rare. Like, oh, shit, so I bid on it and I ended up winning it. So, like, that was the one that I was after, and everything else was just kind of a throw-in. So this was one of those throw-ins. Like, you ever hear me talking about my copy of the first Dire Straits record that I broke in half? I fucking hate that band. But it was trashed anyway. It was one that came from that thing. It was like, it's one of those stories I can sort of ham up and be like, oh my god, I hate this band so fucking much, I smashed the record, My copy of QR3 I broke in half, too. But those records are both so fucking beats, barely playable anyway, so. There's a copy of Highway to Hell in that batch, too, which I didn't break in half, but might as well have given what kind of shape it was in. Alright, so one thing we who do these kinds of channels sometimes get accused of is buying records for content, okay? I never buy records for content. This is the first time I've done this. And I would have done this anyway because I want to have this record around. But I did get this one specifically to talk about it, okay? So this is a jazz record that I'm going to show you that you might be interested in, even if you don't give the slightest shit about jazz, okay? And I didn't know this existed until pretty recently. But this is, I believe, a late 50s record by the amazing Johnny Costa. And if you don't know who Johnny Costa is, he was basically the band leader, pianist, sort of musical director for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. For pretty much that show's entire run. Like, Johnny Costa was like a no-shit jazz musician. This record, I played it before. I actually thought this was a piano trio record. It's not. It's just him solo. So, it does kind of have some of that hotel lobby energy to it, frankly. It's nice, though. It's interesting because, like, okay, so one of the little fun facts about Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood is all the music they played live on in every episode. So, like, any of the songs and that, all those performances are unique, and that's including the opening theme. It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood song, right? They played it. If you watch it, you probably didn't notice this when you were a little kid, but if you watch it now with your kids, you watch it a few times, you'll be like, holy shit, it's a little bit different every time. Because they actually played it fresh every time, Every so often you hear a little mistake in there. So there are little things that having watched that show with my kids, so as an adult, where I could sort of take this shit in a little bit better than when I was like 3 or whatever, right? Like, I noticed certain things, like the way he arpeggiates, you know what I mean? Like the way he'll stick a little arpeggio in there. And he does a lot of that on this record. So even though I don't really recommend this record, and it's, you know, it's never going to make my top, like, 50 jazz records, it's kind of fun to listen to if you really know those songs, because he's playing different songs on here, but he still has some of the same, like, little idiosyncrasies, you know? So yeah, Johnny Costa, man. He actually died, if I'm not mistaken, he died about 5 years before Mr. Rogers ended the show. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, when he sort of retired once and for all. A big fan of Mr. Rogers, by the way. Like, I loved that show when I was a kid. I know I was like in my teens and my early 20s. I was like, why did I ever like that show so much? You know, it's fucking boring, dude. This fucking guy just sitting there talking real slow and shit. And then I had one of my own kids, my own first kid actually, and the one who used to help me make videos. We've been watching for long enough for that. And I was watching it with him, and I was like, oh, holy shit, this show is great. You know, I got it right away. Like, there was an episode, one of the first episodes I watched again, like, he was like Mr. Rogers had like a trumpet that someone brought him, and like, he couldn't play it for shit. Like, he was like a real musician. He like had I don't know if it was a master's or just an undergrad. I know he went to Rollins for it, and then he went to divinity school too and was ordained. Actually, this is a fun thing, another little fun fact. He was ordained as a minister. I don't remember the denomination, but it was one of the mainline Protestant denominations. And they actually gave him like sort of a special ministry in the form of the show, you know, as opposed to like, your ministry is going to be this church or that. He was like, no, do your show. That's your ministry, you know? And I think actually that kind of, if there's one thing about him, I mean, I think he's an admirable guy, like, personally sort of a hero of mine. I don't mind saying this on camera in front of a bunch of strangers. Mr. Rogers is a personal hero. But he was really serious. Like, even when he had, like, a sense of humor and that sort of thing, he'd joke about things, there's still this underlying seriousness. And I kind of like to cut loose a little bit more than Mr. Rogers, you know? So, yeah, so like there's times when I think about him, I'm like, man, he was like a Buddha or something like that. That's kind of, I wish I could be like as serene as that. But then I also go, but I like to laugh a little bit harder than he does. You know what I mean? I like to have that in my life too. So, you know who'd respect that 100%? Mr. Rogers. Anyway, I was watching this with my kid, and he had this trumpet that he couldn't play for shit. He's an excellent piano player, but he couldn't play his trumpet at all. And like he went to like tour some like old mine that they were using to grow mushrooms in now, and they had like a mine cart like going around, and there were these mushrooms around. And it was in like, you know, basically a cave, and he had brought this trumpet with him. He's like, "Do you mind if I play my trumpet here in the cave to like hear the echo?" And they're like, "Why, sure, Mr. Rogers." So he starts like blowing into this trumpet while he's sitting in this mine cart with these fucking mushrooms. I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like, why do they ever stop watching the show is the real question, you know? So yeah, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, like, it's so understated you can totally miss how cool it is, but it's actually really fantastic, man. It's a great show, and yeah, here I am hyping a fucking kids show to my audience, but if you're not overseas, you probably watched it when you were a kid too, and you know, that's part of the power of it, I suppose, you know? It's like this sort of cultural thing that we all share if we're of a certain age, you know? I almost said a certain generation, but you know, it's probably at least two generations. I mean, Gen X and the Millennials, I think we kind of share Mr. Rogers. So, yeah, you can watch a documentary if you want to hear about like how he dealt with like the RFK assassination on his show, or how they recruited him to come in and talk to the country about 9/11 and shit like that. He was like our like emotional heavy hitter like for so long, you know. Although I'll tell you one thing is I know he was a vegetarian for most of his life, and I love meat anyway, right? But he was a vegetarian. When I heard that he died of stomach cancer, I was like, well, I'm absolutely never gonna go fucking vegetarian in that case. If he was a vegetarian and stomach got taken out by stomach cancer, I'm gonna fucking eat meat. You know, fucking with the meat clown in the background there. Alright, let's see what else we have here. Here's another little fun fact about Mr. Rogers. Remember Henrietta Pussycat who lived in the tree with X the Owl? When that puppet was first introduced as Henrietta Pussycat, which wasn't actually on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It was on an earlier show that he worked on off-screen called The Children's Corner with Josie Carey was her name. And some of his songs actually were used on that show, like the Tomorrow song. You know, he usually ended with It's Such a Good Feeling. But the Tomorrow song, we'll start the day tomorrow with a song or two. 1, 2, you know. Henrietta Pussycat was introduced on that show as one of the puppets. At that point in time, you know, she'd always be like, meow, 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 this and that, meow, 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 right? The only actual words she said were beautiful, telephone, and Mr. Rogers. So Henrietta Pussycat would be like, meow, 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 telephone, meow, 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 beautiful, meow, 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 Mr. Rogers, meow. Alright, what the hell was I talking about? Let's go from there to some death metal. That's a nice segue. Actually, here's one. Yet another Eric Bauer recommendation. I finally got my hands on, I don't know, a couple months ago now. This Aggressor record, this French band. Fucking Aggressor was a good name because when I pulled this out, it's like late 80s, early 90s, of the Season of Mist reissue. Yeah, it says 1990. I was expecting this to be like a heavy thrash record, but this is almost like this is almost a death metal record. Like, god damn, this is fucking ferocious, this record, you know? So it's really good. If you like the really heavy shit and you've been snoozing on this one, it's not quite death metal. It's not stylized in the way that death metal is. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't quite have all the idioms down, but it is like 90% of the way there from just being the thrash. And I tend to be more of a thrash guy than a death guy myself. But, so I can actually appreciate the line these guys walk, you know? Don't know a whole ton about them, but yeah, Aggressor. With that, note the spelling on that if you go looking for it. I'm pretty sure there are a couple other ones too. We're also going to give a little shout out to Mr. Marty Worm over at Heavy Metallurgy and his band, The Glorious Dead. Because I've been enjoying these a lot too. Like, I might have shown these in my last video, I'm not sure, but look how tough those guys are looking. Really good stuff, man. I haven't played these like 100 times yet, so I can't go through song by song and that sort of thing yet on these, but goddamn are these enjoyable records, man. Just really good stuff, really well crafted. Not overly self-conscious as far as how the approach is, you know what I mean? It's like, they set out to make death metal records, but it wasn't like, okay, we're gonna be full-on death metal. It's more like, they're writing songs, and that was what felt right, was that some of the death metal idioms in there, you know what I mean? So yeah, The Glorious Dead, man, really good shit. And 2 LPs? I mean, how many of my favorite bands only ever made 1 LP? Like fucking Old Iron, man. So we've come back around in full circle. You also listen to this whole record because it's that short. But yeah, so we start off with a little Old Iron, and we wrap it up. And I think we're going to wrap it up with that. So thanks for watching. Totally appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. Go ahead and ask me like trivia question about Mr. Rogers too. You can challenge me and shit. I promise, if you ask me any questions about Mr. Rogers, I won't Google. Okay? If I don't know the answer, I'll just be honest with you. And then maybe I'll Google it. But like, if you ask me a question and I'll, yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. Take care.